ahead.
Some of them are.
Hello, good morning. It's Bob Friedberg. I'm on the line.
Hey, good morning, Judge.
Good morning to you, everybody.
Actually, I'm gonna get that contract there. Because they're looking for 29 hours.
You're up? Okay. Okay, so we have started the live stream at this point for everyone joining the call.
All right, great. Well then, why don't we go ahead and call the meeting to order. I don't know if we actually have anybody of the public on the screen out there. I don't know how we're interacting with that, Colin.
Sure. So from a public comment standpoint, Glenn, we did submit that in our advertisement. We did not receive any public comment for the purpose of the meeting this morning. So what I would also say as we jump in to get started is to the extent that you have the ability to mute yourself until able to talk, it probably will help everyone in terms of the call quality and being able to hear okay. So if you have the ability to mute your own individual phone or computer as you're following along, that would probably be helpful. And I encourage everyone to use the link that Sylvent did send to follow along so that you can see the screen as well.
Great. All right. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Seeing that there is no public comment at this time, let's move on into our action items. Our first one is going to be the approval of our meeting minutes of February 20th. Is there anybody that did not have the opportunity to review those or has any comment, changes, or adjustments to those?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And if I have any opposed? I don't. Then we'll approve. We'll accept the. We approve the meeting minutes and accept that. Let's move on to the acceptance of the financial statements. Todd, if you would go through those and just kind of review February very quickly, I'd appreciate that.
Sure, Glenn. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Todd.
Morning. Morning, Todd.
I'm going through the month of February, and just to recap, I know it seems like 100 years ago, but February was a pretty mild month as far as weather, and that does impact us in different ways. But you can see we had a good month. We actually anticipated a loss for the month, net income, and we actually made money of $186,000 for the month, which is close to $300,000 more than, excuse me, I did that backwards. $297,000 actual. We projected a loss of $73,000, so we're exceedingly much more than budget, close to $375 more than budget. And that was all obviously because of volume. As you remember, these things were a volume-based business. So when traffic is up, flights are up, we generate more revenue. And you can see expenses were down a lot because we didn't do a lot of our snow-related expenses. So go to the next slide, please. Year-to-date, if you remember, January was also a month where we had good weather. So again, we're much better than where we thought for the year. 370, that is year-to-date. We projected a loss for the beginning part of the year, mainly because, again, we have a lot of expenses related to snow, additional contractors that we bring in, overtime, as far as personnel working, at night, additional supplies, and you'll kind of see those kind of funnel through. And we had increased traffic, so again, that's always a good thing as far as volume is concerned. Next slide. This kind of highlights, as always, kind of the overview of where we were, nothing that we haven't really talked about. Slide down, and then really the one that I want to talk about, the large budget variances. And you can kind of see what's going on with personnel, including cost of sales. We had a really positive number, almost $240,000 better than budget. So that was positive. Again, as you remember, some of that is hiring, but a lot of that is overtime related to snow. And obviously the benefits and everything trickle on top of that number as well. Ground handling without the icing, because there's two components to the ground handling, was up 115,000. We saved on fuel and de-icing because we didn't de-ice as many. You run through a lot of this materials and supplies, which I mentioned earlier, parking. You get down to the on number 13 here where I say ground handling, de-icing revenue was down 171,000 versus budget because the weather was so much nicer. So you got some positive, but you got some negative because we didn't get the same ground handling revenue on the de-icing. Slide to the next one. And our top cost centers for January and February, parking is usually our biggest driver around here, 588. And this is for that cost center, including admin and everything else in there. And you get into a 588, 148, 130, airfield 99, and non-aviation lanes 52. So you can see where we ended up at that 370 number. And the cash flow we'll discuss later. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, hearing no questions or, are there any discussions on those items? Having none, I ask for a motion to accept the financial statements as presented.
I'll move to accept.
And do I have a second? Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
May I have an all in favor, please? All say aye.
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 And if I have any opposed? Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is the pension update. Our original plan was to have when before COVID-19, our original plan was to have a lengthy discussion on the pension and have people come in to present. We're going to have Todd just kind of do a much briefer synopsis of that situation, and I'll turn the time over to him to do so. Todd.
Thank you, Glenn. Our thoughts at this point is that we're going to have a full pension meeting sometime later this year. That's more of a face-to-face meeting. It's a lot of detail, and we want to make sure that it's able to be absorbed by everybody and not in any kind of condensed version. Because you remember, we only have one of those a year, so we want to make sure that we're good stewards of the pension. The one thing before I talk about where we are on the funding level is we did make a decision to move forward with ICMA for our defined contribution plan. I know Mike Sturczyk was in here when we did the actual RFP and we reviewed all the proposals. They were far and away the best presenter. We're going to coordinate that over the next couple of months. Our thoughts are that it would go live probably the fourth quarter because we want to make those transitions, the full transitions, on a quarter because that's how statements are done. So that fourth quarter would be with the new ICMA, and then we would have Mass Mutual probably up until the end of the third quarter, with some transition in the meantime. Any questions on that before I talk about some of the other stuff? The pension, prior to the COVID, we were flying high. Actually, in February, we were really flying high. We were approaching close to high 90 levels on a combined plan of both of them. So that will put us in an extremely well-funded position. I spoke with John, and John's our consultant from Oakmont, who helps with the investments, and also Peter, who works with the actuarial firms. And we had a conference call on the 23rd, which I believe was that Monday? Yes. Monday, I lose track of the days. It changed quickly around here. And that was obviously for the last couple of days, which have been positive. But at that point, we were down 20% year to date. Now, we had a good year, but if you look at it from the perspective of where we were, and you look at it, I just had a call with Peter before I came in here, anything above 90% is considered no distress on your pension plan. anything between 70 and 90 is considered minimal distress, and anything below 70 is considered severely distressed. So as of the 23rd, we were still in the 70 to 90 category. And a lot of that is because, as you remember, in 17 and 18, we made some additional contribution. And the timing of those contributions helped us capitalize on some of the bull market at that time. So had we made those contributions even 2 years later, they would have not been as well-timed as what we did. We did not make a contribution last year, but we got the earnings on those contributions from both 17 and 18, which honestly would have taken us down to severely distressed if we had not made those contributions. So that is one of those things. And you remember, one of the things we've been talking about is slowly moving the plan to a defined contribution for things such as this, because when it changes quickly, and we're probably not going to be in a position to make additional contributions to get that up. So we made those a few years ago, but it's just something we knew even last year, because we wanted to spend our money on capital items, that we were not going to be able to make additional contributions above the MMO to the pension plan. So that's where we are. Again, I think last year we were in the top 40% of all funds. I think there's approximately 3,500 funds. I think the year before we were in the top 25 as far as, and our goal, as you remember, is to be somewhere in that 25 to 50 range. We don't want to be the top, because that means you're going to take a whipping when things go bad, and we don't want to be at the bottom. So that was a good place for us to be, somewhere in that 25 to 50 range is really where our goal was to be as far as funds, and that's what we've done. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Glenn Reed.
Yes.
You said on the 23rd we were in the 70 to 90 range.
We were probably, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish the question. I apologize.
Could you be more specific than 70 to 90?
I just gave the range. The range is 70 to 90. If you think about, I mean, it's from my perspective.
Do we know where we were on
Yeah, we were about 75%.
So we had dropped from the 90s to 75.
Yeah, all you have to do is take 96 and multiply it times 0.8, you get mid-80s. Excuse me, mid-70s.
Okay.
I mean, you know, because you got,
Back.
well, if you remember, and I think I mentioned this earlier, that Monday was a low point in the market. The last 2 days, the market's been up over 10% for the 2 days. It's been up pretty substantial. But that was the lowest point that we've been at in a while, was Monday. And that was as of Monday that they gave me the information. So I must have talked to them on Tuesday, because they gave me the information through Monday.
Okay, it's up another 2% today, right?
Correct, but I'm just saying, and I tend to be a worst-case scenario person as far as planning. So, again, I'm giving you from our lowest point this week, which was when we were at 75%. And what I was trying to point out is, had we not made those additional contributions in 17 and 18, we would have been in the 60s. In the high 60s, but still 60s. I'm sorry?
No, I was just going to say, Todd, I think that what you've done is you've highlighted the fact that we made financially wise decisions earlier to contribute to the fund, to raise the levels. And, you know, unfortunately, with the volatility in the market right now, I think we're going to probably see some bounces between that 70 to 90 range,
Yep.
you know, over the next few months.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Ted,
Go ahead.
yeah, this is Ted. Just wanted to, as far as the pension goes, is that a stock bond, combined portfolio, or what is held by the pension fund currently?
The pension fund is primarily a 60-40, and most of your funds and pensions are at 60/40, which is basically to keep the fund going in perpetuity. That's the mix, the 60/40 mix. And we are actively, I know when I spoke to John, we are actively looking for positions to rebalance now. So if you think about us being at the 60% level, say 2 weeks ago, and then the market takes a hit, then we go into the 50s. So if we rebalance, we have to buy more stocks. It's just the way the rebalancing works.
That was my question. Was as difficult as it is during these scary and volatile times, academically we should be rebalancing it at either each 5% or 10% notch down, because then, long term you do better, unless you feel the world is coming to an end. And so so I'm just wondering if there's some automatic, dispassionate academic rebalancing that's automatically done, or if that's something that needs to be decided.
No, it is. We've given the investment managers our parameters. That was set by the pension committee at 60%. And, they're under the understanding that they're going to rebalance to keep us at that level. Now, obviously, it's not instantaneously, but they're strategically getting us back up to that 60% level, because there's been some good buys in the last few weeks. If you're patient, which we are, we feel that that'll help us recoup some of the losses sooner than if we did nothing at all.
So that did happen. I mean, like with my personal portfolio, we, as hard as it was to do on the way down, I sold some bonds and bought some stock, and it went down further. But that's just part of what you do when you have, when you're not trying to time the market. It's just trigger points are hit and it's done automatically. So we are doing that, or
that is correct, and we are doing that, Ted, and we are going to continue to do that. I mean, one of the things that happens, and that's why we have a team around us, is we're not emotional in these difficult times. We're just staying the course on our long-term strategy.
Okay, good. That was my question, so thank you.
And I thank you, Ted. I appreciate that. Glenn, I appreciate your comments as well. I would remind members of the committees as we move through the morning that if you are not physically speaking at the time, to please mute. We do tend to get a lot of background noise. I know it's difficult carrying on a conversation sometimes that way, but please be aware of that. If there's no other questions on the pension, that is the final item on our agenda for today, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting, the Finance Committee meeting for the morning.
So moved.
Very good. All right, we are adjourned then. Thank you very much. Are we going to move directly into our next meeting?
Yes, that's correct. We'll move next into the Business Committee.
Okay, welcome everyone.
Excuse me, can I?
Sure, go ahead,
Mike?
Sylvette.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Yvette.
Just for administrative purposes, do you mind if I take a roll call before these meetings start?
Well, please do.
Thank you. Brian Dames,
I'm on.
Chuck Diacon, Mike Dowd,
Present.
Frank Facciano,
Present.
Glenn Geisinger,
Present.
John Hayes,
Present.
Ron Heckman, Larry Hemberger,
Present.
Jeff Matskin, Glenn Reedman,
Present.
Mike Stershik,
I'm here.
sorry, Ted Rosenberger,
Yeah, I'm here.
Matt Turk,
Here I am.
Chris Worley, Tara Zirinsky. All right, thank you, Mike.
Thanks for that. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Mike.
Let's call our meeting. And, for anybody, but,
Mike, we're having some trouble hearing you at this point.
is this better now?
Yes, much better.
All right, thank you. And I apologize for that. Usually I'm pretty easily hurt. But in any case, the minutes for the February 20th meeting were distributed electronically. And can I have a motion to approve them as distributed? I haven't heard anything.
So moved, Mike.
Thank you. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes as distributed, please signify by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Then let us move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of an amendment to the Rockefeller purchase and sale agreement. And Tom, will you or perhaps Todd bring us up to speed on that? Not Todd, Darren, bring us up to speed on that?
Yes, we'll actually have Darren walk us through that one.
All right.
All right, thanks, Darren.
Thanks, gentlemen. This is, again, just pretty pro forma, I think, at this point in time. Rockefeller has gone through the land development process. They've gotten their conditional approval at this point in time, which changed a lot slightly. So the original plan was going to create a landlocked parcel that we would still own. Well, it necessarily wasn't a big deal necessarily for us because we own all the property south of it. The township wouldn't approve it with that. So modified the lot slightly, reduced by about 3.8 acres, which reduced the purchase price from originally from 4.9 down to about 5, or from 5.1 down to about $4.9 million. So just need approval on that basically, since a lot has changed. Lot size has changed and the purchase price has changed. Everything else in the amendment that we've approved, I think now this is the third month in a row we've approved this amendment in some form. The rest of the terms stay the same. So just looking for an approval on those changes.
Darren, you and the staff recommend this for approval?
That's correct, Mike. We do recommend it for approval.
All right. Then can I have a motion to approve the amendment to the Rockefeller purchase and sale agreement?
I'll make a motion, Mike.
Thank you. Do we have a second to that? I'll second it for the purpose. Okay, excellent. Any discussion? Any further questions?
This is Brian. Just one question. Do we happen to have a picture of that, Darren? Just out of curiosity.
I don't have a. I mean, we definitely have a picture. I don't have a picture I can share, unfortunately, with us right now. But I mean, I can certainly send it to you if you want to see it.
No worries. I just trying to picture which one exactly is this one. So
yeah, it's the East Allen property, Brian. It's the property off of Weaversville Road. So it's north of the airport, kind of adjacent to the FedEx property.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Right. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for asking the clarification, Brian. Any other questions? Then all those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We have a brief discussion of capital projects and development updates. So, Ryan, are you on board?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So the plan was I have the GA basically committee with the GA projects as well as the major capital project updates uploaded into Novus. So the main items that really changed, really just to bring the committee on board for the interest of time, is all of our active construction projects, which is Hangar 11, our runway construction, and the office renovations were basically put on hold for the governor's request March 20th. so about six days ago. Again, still monitoring when that'll be lifted, but obviously from a schedule perspective, that impacts things a little bit. In terms of the project status updates, everything is pretty moving along nicely. The biggest change, or the item just to draw the committee's attention to, is the Braden Terminal building. As you may recall from last month, we were going to be getting bids in for the terminal, basically the modular terminal piece, and then we would bid out the site work once we received the bids on the terminal. Well, the bids that we did receive, we did get 3 of them, but they were almost 50% higher than the estimate, which was not what we were expecting. So the big change there that we're actually doing is, since we actually put the bid together, there are a few different basically pre-designed manufacturer buildings that are on cooperative purchasing. So we're having some discussions with them just to see what other options there are to get us closer to our budget estimate. So just as a reminder, our estimate was around $300,000. The lowest bid came in around $550,000. So much higher than we anticipated. So unfortunately, timing pushes things back a little bit. I mean, with the COVID issue, it's, we're kind of pushed back anyways. So we are having, like I said, conversations with a manufacturer that's part of the cooperative purchasing. So more to come on that. Hopefully we can make some changes to get us closer to our estimate and still move it forward. The other piece of that with the building is that the manufacturer can also do some of the site work under the basically parameters of the cooperative purchasing. So that might actually save us some money there as well. So that was really the biggest change from last month that I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention. But any questions on that terminal building at this point?
Ryan, this is Brian Dames again. Do we have an option, given the kind of massive changes that have happened here, to rebid that, or is that not an option?
So it is an option if we go down that route. What we're kind of doing first is talking with a few manufacturers that are in the cooperative purchasing. So it actually gives us a bit more ability to negotiate, make changes to the price to get us where we need. Because as you know, once we get the bid, we have to accept the lowest responsive bid based on what's submitted. So it actually gives us a bit more flexibility in terms of value engineering certain pieces to get us what we need for the building, as well as from the budget side.
Any other questions for Ryan? If there are none, is there any further business no new business, is there, Tom?
No new business. Darren, do you want to touch on any of the development update projects?
Sure. I mean, real quickly, we don't need a lot of time for this, but just wanted to let everybody know we have obviously been talking to our partners in each of these projects, including we've had a few calls with Majestic, a few calls with the High Group. We've had some conversation back and forth with their products on their project. I think the important thing is, especially with the Majestic and the High Group, everybody's still on board for these projects. What's going on right now hasn't changed any of that. Certainly will change the timelines a bit, potentially. Still working through the FAA things on the Majestic piece right now. I guess the big piece for us is whether or not we're able to sort of get an audience with the FAA, whether, virtually or some other way at this point in time to discuss this with them. But and then on the High, we have a call tomorrow with the folks from High to go through some things. But again, definitely still on board in some manner at this point in time. I think that sort of validates the fact we picked partners that are hanging with us on this. I think a lot of folks would have probably said forget it, and so feeling good about that. And their products, from what we got from them, is other than again maybe some delays, just timing with this, they're still moving forward as well. So those are the big ones. Just want to keep everybody updated on those at this point.
Thanks, Darren. Do we have any questions for Darren? Now, if there are none and there's no new business, I don't think there's any need for an executive session, so if there's no other business, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Glenn. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Mike.
Welcome, Tom.
Great. I guess that moves us to the executive committee exactly at 10 o'clock. Welcome, everyone. Sylvette, you want to take roll call again? Is that required?
Thank you, yes. All right, Brian Dames,
I'm on.
Chuck Dicott, Mike Dowd,
Here.
Frank Facciano.
Here.
Glenn Geisinger,
Present.
John Hayes,
Present.
Ron Heckman, Larry Hamburger,
Present.
Jeff Matskin, Glenn Reedman,
Present.
Ted Rosenberger,
Present.
Mike Stershik,
Present.
Matt Turk,
I'm here.
Chris Worley, Tara Zrensky. Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. I don't know if there is anybody from the public on the line. I think, Tom, you indicated that we had not received anything, but I'd invite any public comment if there is any.
Not at this time, Matt.
Excellent. A couple of action items here and a couple of updates, and then I think we're going to try to get Tom to give us an update on the current situation at the airport in relation to the COVID-19 mitigation. But first thing I'd ask for is if you've had an opportunity to review the meeting minutes from February, I'd ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
Great. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Great. Minutes pass. Please I hope you took a look quickly at the Florio Perucci invoices for February. Are there any questions? I'd take them now. Without any questions, I'd ask for a motion to approve the invoices from Florio Perucci for February 2020.
So moved.
Take a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the invoices as presented, please say aye.
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 Very
Aye.
good. All right. Moving right along. Hold on, I lost my agenda here. To the nominating committee. I asked Larry to chair the nominating committee at our last meeting. Larry and I have had a few conversations over the past few weeks with some communications challenges, but we got through them. Larry, do you want to give an update quickly on your progress with the nominating committee?
Sure, I'd be happy to. We have
Thank you.
A committee. The committee consists of myself being the chair, Frank, Ryan, and Mike, and we've been working collectively, names and suggestions for the chair, vice chair, and the treasurer secretary. And we'll have our nominees and voting here, I believe, next month or May, probably May.
No, I think Judge, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we will be taking a vote in April on the slate, and we can, we'll forward that slate or present the slate at our board meeting on Tuesday to give everybody some opportunity to mull it over. I think that's the path that we've taken in previous years. Correct, Judge?
That's right. That's the way it's done. It's the list. It's the board meeting in April, the last meeting in April when the vote occurs, and the announcement of the proposed slate occurs a month prior there too. So that schedule is just completely in accord with what we've been doing. That's correct.
Very good. And Larry, you've had an opportunity to talk to everyone who's interested, correct?
That's correct. We had a couple volunteer, and we have spoken to those as well.
Very good. Excellent. Other quick item for discussion, just to alert the executive committee. One of the responsibilities of the executive committee is to do a performance review for both our solicitor and for our executive director. I've begun to think about this process. Obviously, with the times being what they are, this is kind of a secondary consideration, but it's something that I've got in the back of my head, and I will confer with members of the executive committee as to the most appropriate process to undertake for their performance reviews. But this is certainly something we want to make sure that we can get Tom and his team, Tom and our solicitor, appropriate feedback to help them do their jobs better. So just put a pin in that one for future consideration. And with that, I would ask if there's any new business. Sounds like none.
This is Brian. Just another question. Are you thinking we'll do that via kind of phone call or email, or what are you thinking that process might look like just initially?
Yeah, I'll probably start by circulating an email to make that to get that moving forward. I want to take a look at what had been done in previous years to see if there's a model that we can follow.
Very good.
Great. Tom, were you able to get an answer from the appropriateness of us entering executive session for any additional matters related to ongoing operations?
Yeah, I will defer to the judge for his opinion on that.
The law authorizes us to go into executive session for a discussion, not for a discussion, but for a report as to the facts with regard to the operation of the authority. This is a fact-finding session, and it can be done in executive session rather than in a public session. And let me emphasize that it's merely to provide facts, information, and there will be no deliberations as part of this process.
Very good. I would then ask for a motion to enter executive session to receive a report from Tom.
So moved.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of entering executive
Matt,
session? Yes, sir.
Go ahead. I just wanted to add that in the executive session, I would like to give a very brief report on a pending litigation matter as well.
That's very good. Thank you, Judge. All in favor of entering executive session, please say aye.
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 All right. Colin, you let us know when we're